recently I saw a meme that back in the old days, I think it was 1970s, you just walk up to a person and they say, "Oh, you have a pulse," and you get the job. Nowadays, you have to have all these years of experience and everything to get a job. And then people were saying back and forth what it is and not. And they came up with like, oh, back in the old days, everyone was tight knit in the communities and everything. I don't really think that this is the problem. First of all, in the old days, what they failed to recognize was for many people, it wasn't easy to get a job. And I really do mean this for a lot of people. If you had a minority, now you might get a job from a fellow minority, but these are jobs that are going to be a lot less paying, people will take advantage of you more, you have less protection from your people that you're serving, your clients, or anything. So you had that issue, and that means less competitive. But a big part of the problem, I think, is not more education or less education, is that the world has become more and more unequal in terms of income equality. And when that happens, it's hard and hard to find a good job that will pay you a decent wage. And that doesn't, and so you can find still a bunch of jobs, but they're not going to pay you a decent wage to live. And you don't want to go for those jobs because you want to actually live. And this is, now, if you come from a wealthy family or something, or a place with a lot of money, first of all, you have these connections, you have these opportunities, and you can go to the top a lot faster and make connections. When if you start on the bottom, you have a lot less connections that'll get you up there. And if you start at a lower end of the job, it takes you longer to rise, while that other person still rising up had a head start and is probably going to get there faster and faster. And they're going to recruit their buddies and make it easier for the buddies. So I think this is actually a very large part of it. And when you also have less people making a lot of money, or less people in managerial roles, less people making a lot of money and less people in charge of a lot more people, because it's the rich people that are in charge of everyone instead of the small family business or family company that might hire 5 employees, but you might know the boss. You just have one boss that owns 500 employees. It's a lot harder to get a connection that can instantly get you the job. One boss has to decide for so many people, and it's less of a personal thing. To reflect that, I'm just going to show you the Gini coefficient in the US. The Gini coefficient is a measure of income inequality. No measure of income inequality is perfect. You can look at it, you can measure it in a bunch of different ways, because you can say that I really don't care about people after. You can just say one way is just to cut off in the middle and to say how many people earn above the average and how many people below the average. You can look at standard deviations, how far away is from the average and something like that, and then factor it about over the average. Not the best, but you can do that, and that has a lot of things. Or you can look at how many people earn 100% of the income and how many people earn 0% of the income. Then you can try and make stuff in between that has a sliding scale, but the sliding scale might not be the most accurate, because if you earn very, very little money, you might all be in the same boat, you might argue. Or some people that earn a similar amount of money might be in the same boat, but you might argue the wealthy is just all of, so you should just put in 2 categories, uber wealthy and uber poor, or 3 categories, or other things like how small of a detail does it look for the distribution? Does it matter if you round to $10 or $1? And how do you collect the data? So fine, but the Gini coefficient is one of the most widely recognized. And look, in the 1960s, it's a blue line here, it was about 0.3. Now in 2019 it was about 0.42. The inequality, the bigger number the inequality, went up by about 30%. In actuality, it went up even more. if you look at the uber wealthy, went up even more. And that kind of distorts it because the income doesn't look best about how much the uber wealthy and the people hiring positions and stuff like that. And now also small businesses and stuff like that disappear. I also just don't think I still think there's more jobs than ever before, because there's a bunch of, you could say that there's no end to so-called low-skill labor jobs. And I feel really bad by calling them low-skill labor jobs, because some people can really become experts at it. But anything from cleaning stuff, janitorial jobs, there's no shortage of construction work that needs to be done in the U.S. We are falling behind in construction. There's no scale on delivery or drivers or transport people. There's no shortage of people we need for translating movies or translating texts, or translators that could be used in a variety of ones, or people that could turn text into audio. Tons of jobs out there, and you can keep coming up. And you probably can just think about, why can't someone do that? And then you can also look at a ton of other things that are more expert level. There's a ton of useful computer programming that could be done just to make your life easier, like all these little tricks, like, why can't my computer do that? So why can't my website do that? We could use more people in medicine. We have a shortage of doctors and nurses, electrical engineers a sort. All these jobs are sort and could have more. The problem is not that there isn't a job opening, as much as that people do not have, that the wealth is concentrated, so it's not distributed out to open up a new job. And wealth is all about trade. And trade is works like this, and I've described it more in depth in some of my other videos, which I recommend you watch. But if I have $10 and I keep $10, there's only $10 in the economy. If I give it to you and you give it back to me, back and forth, and we do it 20 times in a year, it's act like there was $200 in the economy because of all that trade back and forth. Each time I earn money and each time you earn money. It's only when the wealth is held up in a few people or in certain networks does the economy not have a lot of money. Now, if it's held up between me and my buddies and no one else and the millions of other people don't have access, that also leads to inflation because we can afford really expensive stuff, but no one else. And that also can cause economic troubles and lack of wealth for other people. So if we think about how to, so what I'm getting at is not an education problem. It's not about knowing people problem. It's a wealth inequality problem. I really see it. Well, thank you very much. I hope you found this interesting. Please like it and subscribe. If you have any ideas for future videos, questions, compliments, or criticisms or anything, leave it in the comment section below. Also, feel free to DM me, but I just don't want to give out my DMs. Thank you very much. Goodbye.